Hi everyone, I hope you had a fantastic weekend and are super excited for week 2 of Internet Island to begin. I'm Gabby, and for today's period of the day, we're going to be doing mad science. So I'm going to take you through 2 science experiments you can do at home. The materials and ingredients you need are ones you can probably already find in your house, most likely in your kitchen, but if not, you can easily find them at the dollar store or the grocery store. So if you do want to do these, go ahead and check your cabinets for all the ingredients, and if not, maybe get a parent or a guardian to go and drive you to pick some stuff up. So let's just get right into it. I'd highly recommend that you get all your materials and ingredients ready before we start. So if you look at the email you were sent this morning, it should have a list of what you're going to need. So go ahead and grab all of that, and let's just get started. Just before we begin, I also want to warn you that things might get a little bit messy. So I would recommend doing the experiments on a table or on a surface that you don't mind getting super dirty. So don't do it on a carpet or on the couch or anything like that. And then if you have some newspaper or some scrap paper, just lay it down on your work area so things don't get dirty. I will teach you at the end of this how to clean everything up and throw everything away. So that's not the biggest issue, but yeah, I would recommend just making sure your area is nice and covered. So if you do spill anything, you can easily clean it up. So we're going to start by making our very own at-home lava lamp. If you don't know what a lava lamp is, totally fine. You'll learn by the end of this experiment. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a tall, clear container of some sort. It doesn't have to be a glass like I'm using, as long as it's see-through and relatively long. You're also going to need some baking soda, a cooking oil of some sort. I'm using canola oil, but you can use vegetable oil if you have it as well. You're going to need some vinegar. You're going to need a little bit of food coloring, doesn't matter what color, your favorite color. And then you're just going to need a second container. This doesn't have to look like anything specific, we're just going to be using it to transfer ingredients. So we're going to start just by getting 3 tablespoons of the baking soda. This doesn't have to be super exact, just roughly 3, and we're going to be pouring it into our tall glass container. So let's go 1, 2, and 3. Super easy. And then we're going to fill this glass roughly 2/3 of the way with our oil. This doesn't have to be super exact either, but don't fill it all the way to the top. We want to have a little bit of room. And you're just going to pour it slowly so that things don't really mix up. Just going to pour it in there like that. And we're going to put that off to the side just for a minute, and we're going to grab our second container. And in this container, you're just going to pour some vinegar. It doesn't really matter how much vinegar, we're just going to be using it to transfer, and you can always add more. So we're just going to pour a bit of vinegar. And then with your favorite food coloring color, again, doesn't matter, we're going to pour a couple of drops into our vinegar, sorry. There we go. And we're going to give it a nice little stir. And that's it. Those are actually the only things you're going to need for this experiment. So to actually get it going and forming into that lava lamp, what we're going to do is we're going to slowly pour the vinegar mixture into the oil and baking soda. What's going to happen is the vinegar is going to react with the baking soda and release carbon dioxide gas. Now, because oil is a little bit thicker than the vinegar, the carbon dioxide gas is going to let the vinegar travel through the oil. So let's just get right into it and show you guys what I mean. So we're going to start by pouring a little bit. And you're going to start to see those bubbles form, and slowly it's going to start to react with the baking soda, and they're going to start to rise, just like that. And you can see it's starting to go faster as the reaction starts to get a little bit faster. Basically, you're just going to have these bubbles falling back down and coming back up again, and there you have it. If you want to make this more lamp-like, I would highly recommend getting a flashlight of some sort. I unfortunately don't have one to show you, but you can shine the flashlight through the side of the glass or down through the bottom. Try different things and it should light up, and you should really have your own really cool lamp, just like that. Again, if you still have more vinegar, you can keep this reaction going until you really have no more vinegar and no more baking soda left, because once there's none of those left, there's going to be no more gases to flow. But I can keep pouring it, pour it a little faster now, and you're still going to get those bubbles forming at the bottom that are going to rise up. Just like that. And that's experiment number 1, so we're going to let that react off to the side. You can keep it in your peripheral, keep watching it. And we're going to move on to experiment number 2. Now this is one of my absolute favorite things to do, and it's to make something called Oobleck. I know that's a funny name, but I promise you it is the real name. And Oobleck is super cool because you actually only need 2 ingredients to do it. You're going to need some cornstarch and some water. And that's it, just 2 ingredients. You can, if you would like, use food coloring as well, just to give it a little bit of color, but that's totally optional and totally up to you. So first, grab yourself a bowl. Any bowl, doesn't matter what kind of bowl in this case. So for this, you really just need a ratio of cornstarch to water. So what I mean by that is you're gonna want 2 parts cornstarch to 1 part water. So what we're gonna use is we're gonna use half a cup of water that I've already measured to 1 cup of cornstarch. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out that 1 cup of cornstarch. Here we go. Almost there. That's about a cup. You can also optionally use food coloring if you'd like. I'm not going to, but I'll tell you when to put the food coloring in if you do want to use it. So we're going to start by pouring our water into our bowl. Just like that. And then we're going to start to pour the cornstarch in. Now, you don't necessarily want to pour it all in at once because we do want this to kind of achieve a very specific texture or feel. So I'm going to go and pour about half of it in for now. And then I'm going to start to mix it. You can start to mix it with a spoon. It is eventually going to get to the point where you're probably going to have to use your hands, but you can go ahead and start mixing with a spoon. And if you are going to add food coloring, I definitely recommend adding it at this stage. So we're going to go ahead and mix it. So only adding half, it seems a little bit too watery, so I'm going to go ahead and add in the rest of the cornstarch. Just like that. And so when we mix it in, it's just easily mixing together. And if you can kind of see now, it's getting a little bit too hard to mix with the spoon. So I'm going to go ahead and use my hands and just mix it together. And it's going to start to feel a little bit weird, and that's totally fine. This is exactly what it's supposed to feel like. So sometimes, depending on the consistency you want, you might have to add a little bit more cornstarch or water. If it's a little too thin, you're going to need to add more cornstarch. If it's a little too thick, you're going to want to add a little bit more water. So you're just going to keep mixing that together. I ended up using the entire 1 cup of cornstarch and half a cup of water to get the proper consistency. And I'm going to show you exactly what that proper consistency is. So if you reach in and grab a handful of it, it should feel hard, like you're holding a ball. So as you grab it and put that pressure on it, it should feel like a solid. But if I release my hands, it's going to liquefy and turn back into a liquid so that it kind of flows just like water. So another way to show you what I mean is that if I take my spoon and I hit it, it's just going to stay right on the top. It's not going to sink down, but the second I release it, it's going to flow. You can also do this with your finger. If you basically, let's tilt this down a bit, if you really, really quickly and hard tap this with your finger, my finger is not going to the bottom, it's just bouncing straight off the top. However, If I just slowly put my finger in, it's going to go straight through and down to the bottom. So again, if I just tap it, my finger is just going to stay right on the top. Go ahead and try that. And if I slowly put my finger in, it's going to sink right down to the bottom. So the reason why it does this is because Oobleck's actually not a solid or liquid, it's both. And it changes based on how much pressure you put on it. So as I mentioned, the harder you press, the harder you touch, the thicker it's going to be. So right now, my finger is just bouncing off the top, right? I hope you can see that, just bouncing. However, if I slowly put my finger in, it just sinks right down to the bottom. So you guys can have fun with that. Try that out, put some food coloring in it, play around. You can do some cool little painting art with it and watch it harden up right back into a solid. Now this is a little bit messy, but don't worry about it. If you do spill things on your table or wherever work surface you're working on, just wait for it to dry, because the second it dries, it actually turns right back into cornstarch and you can sweep it up or vacuum or whatever. Now with our lava lamp, it shouldn't probably be done by now. You can try and reignite it if you'd like. If you still have some vinegar left, you can pour some of that in, see if it's gonna reignite, and mine did, because there's still a ton of baking soda left. So you can keep that going for as long as you want, as long as you still have baking soda and vinegar. And then when you do want to dispose of the lava lamp, when you do want to throw it out, don't spill it down the sink. Again, get a parent to help you if you need to, but I'd recommend letting it harden out. You can put it in the fridge to harden, or just let it harden in the air. And then when the oil does get hard, you can just throw it out into the garbage. So when you're ready to throw out your Oobleck also, I would again recommend not to pour it down the sink because it could potentially clog it up. Instead, what you could do is leave it out for a little bit, let the water evaporate as much as possible, and then you can just toss it in the garbage. If it is still a bit liquidy, make sure you double wrap it up so things don't leak. Ask a parent if you need to, but really that's all you gotta do, just throw them out in the garbage. I hope you guys had a ton of fun doing these experiments. I know I did, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.